along those lines. And I might just leave the two of you for a second and come back in a second as soon as I get this computer up and running and everything like that. But also, Dr. Sharif, how big is the drug problem in Bangladesh, and how are y'all coping with it if it is a problem and everything? So, how much are the young people indulging in illicit and illegal drugs?
Okay. Uh, that long time I was abroad. I just came back and I just tried to engage with Bangladesh economy and South Asian economy. And especially, I do focus on the youth communities in Bangladesh. Drug is a major problem right now, but I just want to share like my childhood. When I was in children, I grew up in a small place. It's called Rajbari. Rajbari means king palace. uh, Raja mean kings, palace mean house, body. So Rajbari. So my why I'm sharing these things, because that time I do involve with lot of activities, leadership activities. Let's say I engage with sports, I engage with debating championship, I engage with drama, lot of co-curriculum activities. But after a long time, when I came back to Bangladesh, I saw the youth communities. There is a very small amount of people they have engagement with the youth and different kind of co-curriculum activities. But most of the people right now engage with, especially the youth, engage with the social media. And from there, many of the people actually depressed. Many of the people has lot of social challenge and family challenge. That's why some of them actually taking drugs. On the other hand, different country like Afghanistan, like Myanmar, is the place of uh, drug productions and all of the things, and they are near Bangladesh. That is also a major challenge. Besides that, just few weeks ago, I discussed with one of the retired police officer, and the police officer said that, that many immigrants from Myanmar, they came to Bangladesh. They have strong tie-up with drugs and all of the things. So I am definitely concerned about the youth, concerned about social media, concerned about drugs. But I think that ultimately different kind of intellectual activities, sports, different kind of co-curriculum activities, this kind of cultural activities, it's actually helped them a lot to overcome from these depressions and overcome from this drug. That's why our World Talent Economic Forum, we are taking a lot of initiative with the youth. We are organizing a philosophical aspect. If you see this Muslim world, we have philosophy like fi sabilillah. What we do, we work for the progressions of humanity, and we work for uh, Allah. Same thing you will get in other religion. I'm sure the Jewish community have your own practice to do work for humanity. Christian also have do work for humanity, but I see the Indian community, they call it Karmo Yog, uh, do work for the humanity, not for personal benefit. Same thing I saw in Japan, mindfulness, or we build up this Kokoro, this wisdom app. Wisdom actually helpful for the global or human progressions and civilizations. I think this kind of activities, both in spiritual and real life activities, actually help our youth. Even though this IIT Kharagpur, where I involved for this startup development, we combine these spiritual activities, what we find in the Hindu religions, we call it Karmojoks, and the real-time business, the startup ecosystem. That is the things we are working right now. Hopefully, definitely, Pot TV is a part of our ecosystem, and we can work together and make progress. Thank
So
you. This
I
is
want to go back to generals for a second. So Hegseth
Yeah, go for it.
said the headline here is Hegseth declares war on woke garbage and military. We are done with that shit. He wants to uproot the obvious distractions that make us less capable and less lethal. No more identity months, DEI, dudes in dresses, no more climate change, no more division, distraction. Says the military has lost our way under foolish and reckless political leaders. So all this I find to be horseshit. You need smart generals and admirals in charge. And Hegseth's kind of a schmuck, never higher than a major. Sasha Starr can tell us about what happened when Stalin purged all the competent people in the Soviet military leading up to World War II. It was a huge problem in war fighting, right?
They almost lost the war, at least for starting June 22nd, 1941 until mid-December same year. Germans overran almost all European part of Soviet Union, and they were very close to take over the Moscow. That would be the end of the war.
Because Stalin was so paranoid, he had his lieutenant Barry. He purged millions of people that he thought were enemies of the state, including all the competent leadership. And Lincoln, in the Civil War, he had huge problems finding competent leadership, competent generals. It took him years to get decent generals in position. He found out that his generals were incompetent. I don't think that with what Hegseth and Trump are doing, that they are emphasizing competence in leadership. I thought, well, at least
that makes a lot of sense. Hey, Sasha, just out of curiosity, because I know you were in the Soviet Army and everything like that. What rank did you make it up to and everything? I'm sure you told me before, but I forgot and everything along those lines. So how far up the military chain did you make it?
One more time, Marco.
Sasha, I was just curious, how far up the military chain were you when you were in the Soviet Army and everything? So did you make it up to like sergeant? General, how far up did you make it?
No, I was a sergeant. I had started from nothing because I didn't have a previous military training or so on. So I had to go on just as a private and then slowly progress in ranks. But I had 2 years mandatory service. That's all.
That's just a 2-year mandatory.
My brother put in 30 in the Marines and he made it up to lieutenant colonel, but he was also a stand-up comedian. And so he would do comedy in front of these, in front of officers, and he would roast them. Some people, some generals thought it was funny. Some of them thought he was an asshole. So, but that you can roast generals, that you can mess with, military leaders need to be part of the world. They need to understand the world. And that it always made me feel good to hear my brother tell me stories about the generals, not being all, like stiff idiots, that they understood the world. I mean, that
and that's what you want, like you said. My cousin made it up to lieutenant colonel, and he's still guess you're still a lieutenant colonel even after you retire. One of the things that I learned from him, and I think I mentioned on this show, is that you've only got a certain amount of times that you can advance to the next level. I think they give you like 2 or 3 shots and everything, because he was trying to make it up to a full colonel and maybe even to the general level, and I think that he did not quite make it there. And now
you only get 4 years at each rank, and you either get promoted to the next rank or you get mustered out. So but I bet your cousin, I bet you he's a smart guy, right?
Yeah, he's a very smart guy. Like I said, he was involved in some research around warp technology. He served in the Middle East in several of those conflicts that we were involved in that area, including around Saudi Arabia and other places like that. So yeah, he's a very smart guy. As a matter of fact, I don't know how smart he is to run for political office, and we've got Steve Routh that's running as well, but he's running in Fayette, Georgia for his local city council right now. So he just told us that a couple of weeks ago that he's now going to be running for city council of Fayette, Georgia, which is just outside of Atlanta and everything. So we'll see how Emmett Spurlock does in that race. He's not the incumbent; he's the challenger.
Okay, but you want
Hey,
citizens.
Sasha, one of the things that I brought up to Rick, and I don't know if you had heard this as well, but I saw on the news earlier today that Russia was putting a certain kind of missile. I forgot the type of missile, but they were putting it in Afghanistan. I mean, not Afghanistan, in Venezuela and everything like that. So I know you follow a lot of news around the world. So I was seeing if you had seen anything about that, because I saw that early in the morning. It might have been up for some reason or another around 2 a.m. and saw that come down in my news feed. So I was just wondering if you had heard anything about Russia supplying a certain type of missile to Venezuela, or at least station it is there in Venezuela. I think it's still going to be under Russian control, but it will be in Venezuela.
No, I missed that. I haven't seen this publication. But the good news for Ukraine is that it just came out that European Union is immediately providing $2 billion for Ukrainian defense, specifically production of drones.
Yeah. And speaking of that, I just saw another news story. We didn't really get to the news, but I do have it up now and everything like that. But it looks like frigate radars and troops are rushed to Copenhagen to defend against a mystery drones, and that took place yesterday. And the Danish minister warns that hybrid attacks such as drones are part of a new reality, and apparently Russia has embarked on a huge army call-up. So they're calling up more members of their society, and Denmark has banned all civilian drone flights ahead of that European summit that they're having and everything like that. So it looks like drones are definitely becoming a regular part of the government and everything like that. And I see that one of the Asian governments, like we keep talking about Gen Z protests and everything. So, Sharif, what are you hearing about this? But it looks like the Madagascar president has dissolved their government amid these Gen Z protests. So, just like I said, there have been several countries around the world where Gen Z is protesting, and apparently they fired the government following days of deadly Gen Z protests, and they have pretty much dissolved the government. I guess they'll try to put up a new government after these youth-led deadly protests. So what are you hearing about this around Madagascar, or are you hearing anything about this?
Yeah, this Gen Z protest, what I said last 5 years, this talent, the humans, the technologies, it will play a major role right now for changing, especially the political change, economical change, cultural change. Right now, because of this internet, all of the youth get access to the global community. They understand the values of their own cultures. They understand the values of their own dignities and all of the things. And it's happening because of AI, because of social media, because of the emerging economy has lot of youth. Youth can understand that they can change, and they become more confident, they become more knowledgeable. That's why they're taking this initiative. What happened in Bangladesh right now, all of the youth come to the power. Same thing other countries is happening. Even though this Ladakh near India, you can see that one of the activists, his name is Sonam Wangchu, and in the Ladakh they go for this their own democracy, because even though they are part of India, they are near the China. That's why they do not have the constitutional right for voting for democracy. Even though India is world's largest democratic countries, this Ladakh people do not have. That's why the Genji supporting this Sonam Wangchuk issues. Secondly, he's a climate activist. Climate is a major issue. It's near Himalaya, so they can understand they have to protect their own ecosystem, own forest, own livable cities with their own activities. And third, a lot of them are unemployed. You have to understand what happened in Nepal. Like the youth can understand those who are in power, their children has better life compared to them. They do not have job, they do not have financial freedoms, but the political person, they are in power, they do all of the corruptions, and they have all of the rich kid, and they have luxury life. So things are changing, massively changing around the world. And what I'm discussing last 5 years about talent economy, it will create massive impact in emerging economy, because emerging economy around 50-60% youth. After Bangladesh, people get a model how the youth can come to the power, the Gen Z can come to the power, and they can change the institutional model in the government. Maybe technocracy will take lead for that particular issues. And secondly, the people, those who have A's like Rick, like Mark, like Sasha, like all of the people, those who have wisdom, those who have honesty and transparency. Let's say Dr. Mohammad Yunus is a Nobel laureate from Bangladesh. He is one of the wise men. So Gen Z select him as a country head. So the politicians, be careful. Even if they are in USA, they are in Russia, they are in Ukraine, whatever it is, you cannot do what you want. You have to understand the next generations. Now they are taking leads. Even though I already shared one of the youth interviews from USA. USA also have 42 million people, youth. Those who are young, those who are knowledgeable, and those who are very dynamic. So we have to understand people. Economics, policy, and technology actually change all of the things. So we have to be very careful, and we have to be responsible as well. Thank you.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense and everything along those lines. Hey, Sasha, I saw earlier today, not just the Russian thing that I mentioned that I saw earlier, but apparently it looks like we might be getting a ceasefire. I know you said that this may happen or may not happen, and apparently it'll be another time that Trump will be able to claim victory. Now, whether it's an actual victory or not, we'll have to find out. But they are saying that Hamas is leaning toward accepting Trump's Gaza ceasefire plan, and quickly, and everything along those lines. So I know that Trump and Netanyahu were meeting and everything like that. So apparently there's a new U.S. proposal to end the Gaza war, and they're saying that it's a rare moment of triumph for Netanyahu. So it looks like there may be at least a temporary peace in the Middle East and everything along those lines. I just wanted your take on this peace plan and whether it will succeed or not.
I think that there are good chances that it will succeed, simply because the failure of Hamas to accept this peace plan would lead to immediate destruction of Hamas and whatever is left of it in Gaza. And I think that Hamas people, despite of all rhetorics about the dying for the cause of Allah and all the other wonderful things, they're very selfish people who want to live well, live long, to have the best food, to rape girls. That's all they need to do, and for that they must remain alive. If they are not alive, they will not be able to do of all these things. Therefore, I think that they will accept.
Ricky, you were going to make a comment, or you had something to say?
Yeah,
I
I
saw
just
your
want to
hand
go
up.
back to Venezuela for a sec, because I think we're messing with Venezuela because Trump personally doesn't like the leader, Maduro, there. Now, Maduro
Right.
held on to power illegitimately. He messed with the election. The other guy, I think, won, but it's not the U.S.'s job to overthrow foreign governments, legitimate or illegitimate. And according to New York Times article, we are working on trying to overthrow that government. But Venezuela is not, like, with regard to drugs, a major source. This is from Google AI. Official U.S. and UN data indicate that Venezuela is not a major source of drugs arriving in the U.S. Recent U.S. government statements and actions targeting drug trafficking in the region have been described as exaggerating Venezuela's direct role. We get a ton of stuff from Colombia. We get stuff from Mexico, fentanyl, Mexico. Venezuela is not that big a threat to us in terms of illegal drugs. But this is what Trump is focusing on.
Yeah. If we go into other countries that people focus on and everything along those lines, it looks like Afghanistan has shut down the internet. So Afghanistan, the BBC reported earlier today that Afghan women have lost their last hope as the Taliban has shut down the internet, and they've definitely said that they are going to be enforcing a morality crackdown. So the Taliban is going to be enforcing a morality crackdown, and we're hearing a lot of people talk about morality even here in the United States and other places as well. So are we in some sort of kind of like worldwide religious revival or something like that? What is folks' thoughts around that? And not just Christian revival, but it seems like just religious revival and people that are trying to make moral statements.
Well, Afghanistan has been a thorn in major countries' sides for I don't know, freaking 100 years. You can't rule Afghanistan. The geography is ridiculous. It's a bunch of freaking. It's just super mountainous. It's hard to, you can't control the entire country. The country is divided, into control by like little local warlords. But that being said, it was a mistake for the U.S. to pull out of Afghanistan. It led to disaster for the Democrats and for the women of Afghanistan and the country as a whole. That now the country's being ruled by these yahoos, and Trump set it up. He tried to withdraw from Afghanistan. He had to be talked out of pulling out all our troops, but he did draw down the troops to something like 2,500 troops for the whole U.S. troops to hold the whole country. Not enough. And then he made a deal that the U.S. would be out of Afghanistan by April of 2021, which he made a deal with the frickin' Taliban. And he released 5,000 Taliban prisoners. And then Biden comes in and follows through on Trump's plans when he really should have turned it around and double the number of troops to 5,000 to at least hold Kabul, the capital. But he decided that we'd been in there for 20 years. It was our longest war in history. Pulled everybody out. The Afghan military, which promised the U.S. they were competent and able to hold the country, they immediately collapsed and surrendered. And since then, Afghanistan has been shit.
Yep. Well, speaking of other countries that have had their own issues, Argentina apparently arrested the 7th suspect over that live stream femicide, and apparently there was even people holding signs, justice for Brenda and Marina, who I think are the 2 victims and everything like that, or at least 2 of the because it says 2 women and a girl, so that's at least 2 of the 3 and everything. But that's sparking protests in Argentina because there was a brutal killing and it was live streamed on social media, and apparently that was shocking the whole country of Argentina and other parts of the world as well. So definitely folks are trying to see what's going on in that space. And it looks like Moldavia elections did deliver that whole election to those that were pro-Europe and everything like that. So the EU grins, and apparently Russia's upset after the winner was declared in Moldavian election. So the pro-European forces won in that particular race. Hey,
let's go back to Afghanistan for one sec. Afghanistan helped bring down the Soviet Union. So among the things that, and Sasha knows more than I do, but that brought down the Soviet Union was trying to keep up in the arms race with the U.S., where Reagan said we had a Star Wars. It was the 80s version of the Golden Dome, a missile defense system, and the Soviet Union overspent trying to fight that, even though it was the physics of it made it ridiculous. But also, the Soviet Union spent a ton of their military resources trying to take and hold Afghanistan. Afghanistan is in a really important, part of the world, and it's ruled by yahoos. And then big countries think they can knock down the yahoos and get control of Afghanistan, and it's always proven to be not possible. But Afghanistan borders Pakistan, Iran, Turkmenistan. It's right in the center of a bunch of stuff. Sasha?
I think that Afghanistan is a fairly closed society. They don't interact well with outside world. This is the most difficult country to take over because of the terrain, climate, viciousness of the people populating Afghanistan. They would not agree to anything, and they will try to screw you at any possibility. This is by far the most difficult, and quite interestingly, that it's the most useless piece of land in the world. They don't have beaches, they don't have any even natural resources to speak of. I mean, they have some natural resources, but they're so difficult to get to that it's make it not worthwhile even trying to. So it's really useless piece of land by far. And although from time to time different nations, different countries, including UK and Russia and US, who else? Well, it started with probably Alexander Makedonsky. I think he conquered a part of Afghanistan. Actually, he went even farther to Tajikistan, and then he turned down to India. So useless, completely useless land, completely useless people, and never try to touch it by all means.
But they are a major source of heroin, right?
Okay, so those who want to buy heroin, let them travel to Afghanistan and enjoy themselves.
Well, I mean, it's another problematic aspect of Afghanistan. As of 2021, Afghanistan's harvest of opium poppies produces more than 90% of the world's illegal heroin, and more than 95% of Europeans' illegal heroin.
Yeah, not only
Well,
that,
that's
but
all
apparently,
what they can produce. They don't.
no, but apparently they have other resources as well. But the resources, like you said, Sasha, are not able to be gotten to because of the nature of the society and everything like that. But apparently they are considered, and even as I look it up on Google and some of the other sources, they're considered the Saudi Arabia of lithium, and we know lithium is an important part of computers and everything like that. But it's critical to electric vehicle batteries and other electronic devices, and also they've got a significant amount of copper and iron ore and a bunch of other things. As a matter of fact, one of these articles I'm reading says, while historically underexploited due to conflict, these resources are vital for global green energy transitions with potential valuations exceeding $1 trillion. So they've got about $1 trillion worth of stuff that if they could ever get to it, they could make some significant amount of money. But because of all
But they can't because they're politically incompetent. So here's what Google AI says. Afghanistan has a vast but unexploited amount of lithium, potentially rivaling the world's largest reserves, but it currently does not contribute to the world's lithium supply. So the percentage of the world's lithium from Afghanistan, it says, is 0.
Right, because they're caught up in that, and they've got other things that they've got. Like apparently they're known for their grapes, their pomegranates, and their melons and everything, because they've got high quality fruit and a textile industry based on cotton. You have some,
yeah, but they don't have their shit together to export anything.
Right, and the same with their water bodies, because apparently they've got some major rivers, lakes, and reservoirs that support fishing activities, particularly in the Kabul and the Helmand River. So they do have some rivers that they could get to, as y'all said, act together. But enough about Afghanistan. I want to come back to the U.S. and something we talked about yesterday and everything along those lines, because they're saying that as of 6 hours ago, which means in about 18 hours, Congress has less than 24 hours to avert a shutdown. So it sounds like they got about less than 18 hours right now, and the odds don't look good. So what is our thoughts about this notion of a government shutdown? Is this going to help Trump? Is it going to help the Democrats? Is it going to help the Republicans?
Wait, I did some research on this, and the last shutdown we had, the longest in history, was 35 days. It was the first time Trump was president. It started in 2018 and it slopped over into 2019. It cost the America $11 billion. Every time you shut down the government, it costs a ton of money. And the fight, the last time was over, Trump wanted $5.7 billion to build the border wall.
Mm-hmm.
And he shut down the government because the Congress wouldn't authorize the 5.7. Then there was another their shutdowns were not serious until 1980 when the law changed. Before 1980, if you had a budget shortfall, the law was interpreted that departments could stay open and the government could keep doing its job. So that there were a bunch of shutdowns under Carter, but they weren't serious because the government could keep operating. But in 1980, a judge ruled that no, when you run out of money, all these departments have to shut down except for emergency services. So then they became a problem. And they were all one-day shutdowns until 1990. And then under Bush, Clinton, Obama, and Trump, we've had more serious shutdowns.
There have been more serious shutdowns, and like you said, Trump's was the longest. By the way, speaking of shutdowns and Trump and all along those lines, it looks like Google/YouTube is going to be paying $22 million for the White House, and they're saying that might be going to the ballroom because that's going to be the lawsuit settlement and everything. So this is over the January 6th ban. So, and over that whole notion of a suspended account. So $24.5 million.
So wait a sec. So Google suspended Trump.
Right.
And then they're paying how much?
$24.5 million to end Trump's suit.
So what? They took him off of. So
they took him.
We talk a lot about getting kicked off of.
They suspended his account.
All right. Let's. So we talk at Pod TV. We talk a lot about getting kicked off of YouTube because in 2020 and 2021, YouTube had a policy that you can't spread bullshit. You can't go on YouTube and talk about election fraud. You can't go on there and talk about ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, which are bogus COVID treatments.
Right.
And they kicked off a ton of people. They kept taking down episodes of my show where I argue with my Trumpy friend because my Trumpy friend kept bringing up hydroxychloroquine and election fraud. So Trump wasn't the only guy who got kicked off of YouTube, but now because of Google and is afraid of Trump, they're paying him $24.5 million.
Right.
Because they kicked him off of YouTube. I don't see them paying us. We got kicked off.
I think the
freaking president.
I think that Nick and Kim should try to make some money off of us as well and everything like that because we have been kicked off a number of times, including I think Kim's account is down now and everything like that. But I could be wrong, but I think I had a conversation with her where it was still down and all along those lines. But yeah, maybe we can make some money off of them as well to keep this network going. It looks like
let's talk about the freaking ballroom. This ballroom is gonna have, like, when you do construction, you want to have the minimum cost per square foot, right? It used to be when I was younger, you used to be able to build stuff for $100 a square foot.
Right.
Now real estate in Los Angeles and big cities across America, and like I know London, all these places they sell places for $1,000 a square foot.
Mm-hmm.
So now construction, if you can get stuff built for $250 per square foot, you're doing pretty well at this point.
Right.
But this freaking ballroom is going to cost 4 times as much per square foot. They're going to spend $200 million as it costs to build other government buildings in Washington, D.C. So yeah, and so if you think that some of that money isn't going in eventually making its way into Trump's pocket, you're a fool. That is gonna be a source of another.
And so he's a master of grift and everything like that. Speaking of masters of grift, it looks like there might be another Phoenix candidate, meaning somebody that rises from the ashes and everything along those lines. So Adams has dropped out of the campaign, the current mayor of New York, and right now Mamdani, who is a socialist kind of like candidate, is leading with everything. But people are saying that this could be a rebirth of the Cuomo campaign. So maybe he's going to close down or narrow the gap between him and Mamdani. So what do you think? Is Adams dropping out going to help Cuomo possibly become New York's next mayor?
Nobody likes Cuomo in New York. He's kind of, people think he's kind of an a-hole. He's not very charismatic. He left his last job because he was grabbing too many titties. You know, he's not a well-regarded guy.
So it doesn't sound like he's going to be the next mayor. So it'll still be this Mamdani guy, and some
Yeah,
people.
well, isn't the election in November? It's like a month and a half away.
Yeah, so it's real nearby, and like I said, Mamdani has a solid lead. Even though I did hear some of the men in blue are not that pleased and everything like that, because apparently he did have some things to say about defund the police. Mamdani did, and everything along those lines. So we'll see what happens. They say the U.S. government faces a brain drain as apparently 154,000 federal workers exited this week. So it looks like this is something else going, because federal workers took Trump's buyout and got their final paycheck and an uncertain future. So the largest mass resignation in U.S. history, as 100,000 plus federal workers quit and everything like that. So
so we're what, like 18 hours away from the government shutdown. Trump says he's going to fire a ton of government workers if the government shuts down. So, like, Trump doesn't care if the government works. He doesn't care if it provides services to the American people. This is part of a Republican philosophy that's been in place for the last 45 years. Reagan said he wanted to make the U.S. federal government small enough that you could drown it in a bathtub. You know, there's been an anti-government stance from the Republicans for 40 years that you make government, you break government, the people get pissed off at government, the Republicans complain about how bad government is, and they use that to get reelected. They create the problem, and then they get elected on bitching about the problem.
Yeah, speaking of the problem, this is for you, Sasha, but I'm sure Rick will have some thoughts around this as well. I had the pleasure of meeting Ashley Dior Brown, I believe is her name, and everything, but she's got a musician union, and they were actually, and I think she had Rashida with her, the congressman, yesterday and everything, but they are in the process of trying to get fair pay for musicians. So they did a big rally yesterday, and I think they stuck it into another bill as well, because you can insert things into a bill. So we'll see what happens and everything like that. So I know that in the past you were and you still are a musician, but you are a musician on a cruise ship. You've done other kinds of amazing things, including playing in concert halls and all along those lines. So I just wondered, what is your thought about this notion? Because I know some people even locally that were trying to get something on our local government, but having the federal government have like a living wage for musicians. Part of this is around Spotify, part of this is around trying to get streaming money and everything like that. But what is your thoughts around this notion of musicians not being paid enough?
It's a very difficult issue because musicians are musicians.
Leon Karen.
Yeah. And not all of them are the highest quality musicians. Some of them are not. So you want to bring some. Anyway, take care of this question. I have to answer this.
No problem. You answered that phone call. What is your thoughts on that, Rick? You have some musician friends as well, but yes, this notion, they had a rally, I believe it on the 29th, which would have been yesterday.
No, I don't think you can get anything like this passed through. Congress isn't passing jack shit. It hasn't passed crap in 4 years. So it used to be that Congress would pass you know, 300 to 600 bills per term. You know, the Congress has a 2-year term. And so I don't think they're passing anything. That if you look at the history of Congress, they average about 300 bills over the past, I don't know, 30 years in Congress. Then it gets to the previous Congress that was in session in like 2023 that went from 300 bills passed to 20. So I still think they are in that that stalemate position where you can't get anything freaking serious passed. They passed the big beautiful bill, which gave rich people another tax cut and screwed people for health coverage and for Social Security potentially. But these little things that, I mean, I can tell you. Let's here. I had it up. Let's see what they've passed. So here's a bill that passed to name the Department of Veterans Affairs community-based outpatient clinic in Toms River, New Jersey, the Leonard G. Bud Lomel VA Clinic. So they passed a bill to name something.
Right.
To amend the Fair Credit Reporting Act to prevent consumer reporting agencies from furnishing consumer reports under certain circumstances. I don't know exactly what that does. A bill to provide for a study of the National Academy of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine on the prevalence and mortality of cancer among individuals who served as active duty air crew in the armed forces. That seems like a decent bill. It passed. That they're going to study to find out if serving, I guess, on a destroyer, in one of those aircraft carriers and other jobs around military aircraft gives you more cancer than other people get.
Yeah, that could be an interesting bill, and I'm sure there might be some others, but like you said, not a lot of bills being passed and everything. Apparently, there was reporting NBC earlier today and everything, but an ex-prison guard who was shot 6 times is hailing an FCC idea. So the FCC is doing something that they're saying can calm prison chaos because they're thinking that the FCC needs to greenlight cell phone jamming, particularly around prisons and everything like that. So it says that Oklahoma prisons may be able to jam cell phone signals by the end of the month and everything along those lines. So I guess that can stop the prisoners from communicating with each other and from the outside world if they're jamming the cell phone signals. I didn't think that you were allowed to have phones in prison.
You're not, but there's a lot of money involved if you are, part of a criminal gang and you get put away. And your gang is involved in the drug business. Well, there's millions of dollars involved, and prison guards don't get paid much money, and plus some of them are freaking idiots. So yeah, phones are going to get smuggled in. People are going to get paid off, and then people are going to continue running their businesses from prison if possible.
Yep, that makes sense. They might run.
There's a decent show. What is it? It's on freaking HBO, I think, called Task with Mark Ruffalo, which is about a task force going after a biker gang that's heavily involved in the drug business. And I don't know, it's a good show. Everybody gets it's very dramatic, but it shows, a biker gang engaging in a multi-million-dollar drug business. And the trouble with gangs is a lot of gang members are freaking idiots. Which means that, that good leadership is rare. So you want even if your boss gets sent to prison, your boss may be one of the few non-idiots in your gang, and you want them to keep running your business. So yeah, you're going to figure out how to do it, and it's going to be via cell phones.
Yeah, that makes sense and everything. Sasha, it looks like you're off the phone. So part of that whole thing with the music was around Spotify, like I said, and there have been people that have been complaining about Spotify for decades now because apparently you don't even make a penny on your downloads with Spotify and everything. I think it's like a hundredth of a percent of a penny and everything like that. So a lot of people are trying to figure out how they can make better money off of Spotify and maybe get better wages as musicians. So I don't know if you got to finish your thoughts because of the phone call and everything like that. So if you wanted to complete your thoughts around musicians and whether musicians deserve to get better pay, which is part of what this bill is about. And everything.
Well, basically, it's all a wild west. It all depends what specific talent you have as a musician, how you can apply it, how you can get the most wages that particular talent allows you to make. With the Spotify business and all electronic stuff, again, it's a fairly young industry. And again, who is better qualified to use advantages of that system to your particular talent will be always ahead of the game. And I think the unionized activities in some cases are useful. For example, symphony orchestras, they have a scale for all the musicians, so they're guaranteed a minimum wages according to that scale. And although minimum wages in that particular case could be quite substantial wages, sometimes we're talking about $7,500 an hour and probably more. Of course, providing that you're not soloist, you're a member of orchestra. So these people, they always looked after quite well. Now, if you are a soloist, then it all depends. You can get paid $500 an hour. You can get $5,000 an hour. It's a wild west. It all depends what your particular talent is and how well you can sell it. In this case, any unionized work is just doesn't make any sense. And you can get whatever you're eligible to get and talented enough to get and good at marketing and good at your resources and contacts and many other activities.
So I want to go back to Congress for a second. So Congress has been in session for about 9 months. During a normal Congress, in the first 9 months, they would have passed about 100 laws because stuff comes up and you need to make laws about stuff. But this Congress hasn't passed 100 laws. They've passed 35 laws, and some of them are just bullshit. A bill to rename the Anahuac National Wildlife Refuge, located in Texas, as the Jocelyn Nungare National Wildlife Refuge. That's a law. When you want to rename something, you pass a law. And so, this Congress is super ineffective at getting anything real done, unless it's the big, beautiful bill, which is what Trump wanted, to give a tax cut to wealthy people. Again, that the average person in the top 0.1% of income in America will save an average of $400,000 in taxes. The poorest 40% of Americans will end up losing money under the big, beautiful bill in terms with services such as what they used to call food stamps being pulled.
Yep, and on that note, it's time to wrap up. We got to get ready to get to Sasha's show. I say he's already got his people there, which is Ivan and Jonathan, but I'll be seeing him in about a minute. But right now we're here to end this show and everything like that. So I'll see you there shortly, Sasha.